For this week's LEGO City update, I've spent 2 entire days on building trees, pine trees to be specific, for the mountain in the back of my layout. As you might already know, I scale down my trees towards the back of the layout in order to make the mountain look bigger. And so this is the exact type of tree I'm building at the moment. In the end, this was the result, and now it's finally time for the good part. Placing the trees onto the mountain. I'm starting off with the empty spot above the train tunnel, as well as the other slope of the mountain later on. The most important aspect right now when I was placing the trees was to firstly avoid gaps, and secondly to avoid straight lines and rows of trees. So my goal was obviously to have a natural looking forest and not a forest that looks like it was planted. The funny part when it comes to placing trees into the layout after 2 days of work is I have no clue and can't estimate at all how much of the area later on will be covered by the trees I've prepared. In this case, it was much more than I expected, and so as you can see, I'm continuing on the other side of the mountain. Actually, the further down I added the trees, the more difficult it obviously got to place them. So in the end, the last patch that will be remaining will be quite difficult to fill because I somehow have to reach it. The next step was to create a transition between not only the different scales within the LEGO City layout, but also the different levels of detail. As you can see, the pine trees in the back are much less detailed than the remaining vegetation within the LEGO City. So in order to create this transition, I'm using flower stems directly in front, as well as under the front rows of the pine trees and above the train tunnel. So that sort of creates this effect of the detailed vegetation with the flower stems going on even in the pine tree forest. Next up, I also wanted to test the look of the flower stems on the rock face and those small green patches that I've added within the rock structure itself. My idea was to add contrast, which actually worked out quite well. And now I've decided to add another layer of detail with those flower stems, then went back into the viewer's perspective, checked whether I liked it or not, and I definitely preferred the detailed grass over the empty studs, and therefore I've decided to cover up basically every single stud that was remaining in this rock area. I also decided to add more flower stems at the bottom of the waterfall. This was not very detailed, to be honest, and even though this corner isn't visible for the normal viewer standing in front of the LEGO City, it somewhat bothered me there was this detail-less spot remaining in the mountain corner. Other than that, I obviously had to finish off the very last remaining green spot and therefore added even more flower stems. And now, this is once again quite an annoying part, I decide to continue every now and then. The rock structure itself, especially the support structure, takes so much time to build. So this is what the pine tree forest looks like from the back. I can also show you a close-up of the flower stems I've added just in front of the trees. As soon as we look between the trees in the back, you can see they are simply the studs, but in front it's important for the level of detail. And then also back here, I can show you this transition, which doesn't look too good close-up if you ask me, because we have those very rugged slopes. And directly besides that, the trees and all those flower stems, which simply are much more detailed. But from the viewer's perspective, I really like it. And then this back here is the area with the waterfall. There's another close-up of the flower stems. Although they don't really fit the scale of the trees I've added up here, I really like the overall aesthetics of that. By the way, this is where I'm currently at with the waterfall, and I'm at the moment planning on how I exactly want to continue its path. And now this is the viewer perspective. There's obviously quite a large empty spot remaining. I'll order more parts for the tree soon, but well, I don't have any money left at the moment, so I'll have to wait for this month's income. And also, since everything at the moment is one type of green, I'll add a mixed forest, especially at the foot of the mountain, and then have different types of green mixed, and towards the top of the mountain, I'll then leave the pure pine forest, because I gotta be honest, I also really enjoy having this one single type of tree covering the slopes. So that's it for this week's LEGO City update. I think I'll be continuing somewhere in this area. And also, now at the end of the video, I have to say thank you for 10,000 subscribers. It's absolutely amazing. I don't even know what to say. Last month, this channel didn't even have 100 subscribers. So I honestly can't thank you enough for that. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.